In the darkest corners of history, where screams echo through time, Dracula rises not just as a monster, but the devil's own shadow. His thirst for blood cursed generations, birthing the legend of vampires, creatures that laugh in the face of death. Welcome back to another episode of Secret Archives. Today, we're gonna deep dive into the legend of Dracula and the origin of vampires. For centuries, tales of vampires have haunted folklore across cultures, unheeded beings that feed on the blood of the living and thrive in darkness. Among them, one figure stands above all, Dracula. Inspired by real history and enriched by Gothic fiction, Dracula became the blueprint for the modern vampire. But where did these legends truly begin? And how did one name come to define an entire myth? Dracula wasn't born from a simple bedtime story. He was inspired by a real person, Vlad the Impaler. Vlad III ruled in what is now Romania in the 15th century. He got his nickname, the Impaler, because he killed his enemies in the most gruesome way by impaling them on long spikes and leaving their bodies on display. Some say he did it to send a message, others say he enjoyed it. Vlad was no ordinary ruler. As a boy, he was taken hostage by the Ottoman Empire. He grew up learning war, strategy, and revenge. When he returned home, he ruled with an iron fist. Stories say he once invited hundreds of nobles to a feast, only to have them all impaled. He was brutal, unforgiving, and obsessed with power. Some even say he drank the blood of his victims. When Bram Stoker wrote his novel Dracula in 1897, he may not have known everything about Vlad the Impaler, but he was drawn to the name. Dracula means son of the dragon, or in modern Romanian, son of the devil. Stoker imagined a vampire count from Transylvania who could control minds, shapeshift, and stalk innocent souls in the night. His version of Dracula set the stage for every vampire story that followed. Vampires are known in legends for their pale skin, sharp fangs, and their thirst for human blood. Some tales say they rise from their graves at night, sleep in coffins filled with soil from their homeland, and cannot be seen in mirrors. Others claim they are beautiful yet deadly, hiding their true nature behind a charming face. Many believe that if a vampire bites you, you too may become one of the undead. But it's not just a bite. Some stories say even sorcery, suicide, or an animal jumping over your corpse could turn you into one. There are ways to destroy a vampire, of course. A wooden stake through the heart, sunlight, fire, or decapitation. But be warned, they are not easy to kill. The fear of vampires isn't new. Even in ancient Greece, there were tales of creatures that drained people's lives while they slept. During times of disease and death, especially in medieval Europe, these myths exploded. People didn't understand sickness the way we do now. When someone died mysteriously, or a plague swept through a village, leaving behind bodies with unsettling signs like bleeding from the mouth, it was easy to misinterpret this as proof of vampirism, and the idea that the dead could rise from the grave to feast on the living took hold. That's when graves were dug up, bodies were staked, and garlic was stuffed into mouths, all in fear of the undead. Science later tried to explain vampire myths. Diseases like rabies and pellagra showed symptoms similar to those seen in vampire legends. Rabies caused people to fear water, hate light, and sometimes bite others. Pellagra made people's skin look corpse-like and made them sensitive to sunlight. People with these conditions were misunderstood, feared, and sometimes buried alive by mistake. All this added fuel to the vampire fire. Even more diseases like porphyria, which causes blisters on skin exposed to sunlight, and rabies with its violent tendencies further fueled the legend. In some places, when someone died under mysterious circumstances, their bodies were exhumed to search for signs of undead activity, often resulting in gruesome acts like decapitation or the infamous stake through the heart ritual, as seen in the tragic case of Mercy Brown, a young woman from Rhode Island who was blamed for her family's deaths from tuberculosis. These events were not just isolated to history, they marked a dark chapter where superstition triumphed over reason and fear of the unknown led to horrifying acts of violence. In terms of horrifying, the famous vampire, Count Orlok, is one of the most famous vampires in history, but his name might not ring a bell like Dracula's. Orlok is the creepy, pale vampire from Nosferatu, a symphony of horror, a 1922 silent German film. The film added something new to the world of vampires. Sunlight can kill them. In Dracula, vampires could walk in the daylight, but in Nosferatu, the sun is their deadly enemy. Orlok, played by the actor Max Schreck, is no charming, suave Dracula. He's a terrifying creature with pointed ears, a bald head, and those deep, dark eyes. His look alone has influenced how vampires are portrayed on screen today. European vampires are all about that dark, seductive allure. They tap into our deepest fears of eternal life. see, and the other. They're not just monsters, they're dangerous, irresistible, and they know it. Vampires might seem like they're exclusively European, but think again. These bloodthirsty creatures have international cousins that are just as creepy, if not more. In Asia, vampire myths often serve as warnings. They're less about passion and more about reinforcing social norms. These creatures are usually there to remind you to behave, after all. Nothing says, eat your vegetables, quite like the threat of a blood-sucking demon creeping through your window. In China, the Jiangshi hops its way through the night. But this isn't just any corpse. This one is after your qi. That's your life force, by the way, not just your blood. Over in India, watch out for the Rakshasa. These shape-shifting demons are like a nightmare come to life, with a bloodlust that's straight up Hannibal Lecter-level creepy. In Japan, they don't have your classic vampire, but they do have the Nure Onna. This water-dwelling snake woman is just as deadly as any fanged fiend, waiting to drag you into her watery depths. Who needs Shark Week when you've got this kind of terror lurking in the waves? Over on the African continent, there are vampires with a little extra bite. The Asanbosum is a tree-dwelling horror with iron teeth that will have you thinking twice before taking a stroll through the forest. And then there's the Ads, a shapeshifter that turns into a firefly to sneak into your room and drain your blood. Those glowing little bugs at night? Yeah, now they're terrifying. In the Caribbean, there's the Sukuyant, an old hag who sheds her skin at night to suck blood from her victims. Over in North America, the Rougarou, a shape-shifting werewolf, roams the forests, bringing its own kind of blood-curdling terror to the land. These New World vamps may not drink blood like their European cousins, but they still have that same deadly vibe. And at some point, these terrifying creatures went from bloodthirsty nightmares to swoon-worthy romantic leads. And it all boils down to the Victorians. In the 18th and 19th centuries, vampires took a dramatic turn. No longer just mindless, grotesque monsters, they became tragic, brooding figures with complex backstories and, let's be real, serious, smoldering potential. Thanks to the Victorians, especially Lord Byron and his fragment of a novel, vampires became all about immortality, desire, and the fear of the unknown. Add in a dash of seduction and power, and suddenly, immortality doesn't seem so bad, right? Today, although we no longer fear vampires lurking in our shadows, there are still people who identify as modern-day vampires, some drinking blood from willing donors or feeding off the energy of others, believing it to be a necessary part of their survival. These contemporary vampires are a reminder of the enduring fascination with these creatures who continue to thrive in books, films, and TV shows, from the classic Count Dracula to the more recent allure of Twilight. Vampires, whether real or imagined, speak to our deepest fears and desires, our fascination with immortality, our dread of death, and the mystery that lies beyond the grave. And as long as those fears linger in the human soul, the vampire myth will never truly fade away. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more fascinating mythology.